Talking about the opening discussion, let's take the volume down a notch so that the people next to us can hear us. You may want to jot down some of the things they say, because that's going to help you recall what we were doing yesterday. Can somebody help me out with my bad vision and read nice and loud what the discussion is?
How do authors use it to convey messages?
So explain rhetorical. What was that I squished in there?
Invention.
Invention. I need to come up with a better word. Author, speaker, text messenger, talker, creator.
Inventor.
Inventor. I like inventor. I may steal that.
Okay, good.
Like I stole your idea.
That's the best analogy I ever came up with.
Alright. Take 3 minutes, talk to the people sitting next to you at a reasonable volume. So I just want to thank you for watching some of my teaching videos and kind of coaching me through so that I can gain some new skills. One of the things that I'm really working on is making my classroom student-centered.
Okay.
So, and then using more questioning strategies rather than the sit and get that, you know, has been traditional. So.
Okay.
And that's always kind of a challenge, I think, at the beginning of the year when we're setting classroom norms and when everyone's getting to know each other and we're starting to front load skills before we then go and practice skills. And what we're going to see today is AP language and composition.
Okay.
So.
And which one was the
So it comes from the framework, but what part is it? Can you see that from there? Yeah, that's another word. So when we're talking about all three together, we're talking about that. Now we're going to move on to how authors use those to make their meaning effective. Minute and a half left. So we'll help these people out a little louder. Yeah, so when we talk about the rhetorical invention, as Bill pointed out, we're talking about the appeals. The appeal to ethos, the appeal to pathos, the appeal to logos, the apples, yes.
Okay, so scratch this.
1 minute left.
Invention.
Well, we have to remember evidence.
There you go. In the book to convey effective messages. Get it?
There's a series of a couple of days where they're starting to work on recognizing rhetorical devices.
Okay.
And in this case, they're working on specifically the rhetorical inventions, so recognizing appeals to ethos, pathos, and logos.
Okay.
And one of the things that we're using is a quarter theme. So all 4 quarters are theme-based so that they can have an in-depth understanding of one concept and as a vehicle for practicing all of the different rhetorical strategies.
Okay.
And then the goal is for them to not only get better at recognizing those, but then based off of having an in-depth understanding instead of a breadth of little pieces of content, they're better able to build their own arguments and use those rhetorical devices themselves. Wow. Okay. Everybody else. Huddle up. Huddle up. Guys in the back, can you hear this? Some people didn't know what the invention was. When I called it the invention, people got confused. Rhetorical invention. Bill knew. Bill always
Bill
does.
did know. Bill's so smart.
Okay. That means if you didn't have that in your notes, you didn't know, oh, another way of saying or referring to ethos, pathos, logos was the invention, then you should probably be writing that down right now. If you were either not here yesterday or you didn't get a chance to put ethos, pathos, logos in your notes, these guys are getting it up here for you so you can copy it. I'm going to go over a little bit of review once they're done one more time, and then I'm going to give you another opportunity to continue with what we were doing yesterday. Okay, do you remember what we ended with yesterday?
Author's purpose.
Okay.
Yeah, like you said. Sorry.
So we ended with author's purpose, and then what were we doing right before that, AJ? It was kind of fun, kind of trippy.
The video.
The video. So we're going to get to see the video clip one more time. What were we doing when we were watching the video clip? Were we just chilling?
Oh yeah, how they apply it.
So we were trying to recognize how the, in this case it's kind of difficult because we have an author, somebody who wrote the script, but who else is conveying messages when it's a video? The artist, the person drawing the animation, the sound director, the music person.
I don't think there was any music in that clip that we watched. Was there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
there
very
was.
creepy.
It was. It just.
I don't remember there being music. I
Okay,
remember
you're gonna get
listening for
you're
it.
gonna get to remember again. So what else, guys? What else could, besides the writer of the script? Then we've got, somebody said the person who chooses the music. We've got the animator.
The people who made the quotes way back then.
Okay, so the people who made the quotes for credibility. You guys all done? You can leave your markers up there and find your seat if you want. Thank you for helping us out. So, is there anybody else when it's a movie? So there's the voice actor. And who's making all of this? Say that louder for me, Eli. The director. So however the director puts it together. So all of these people, it's way more complicated now because instead of just one author, like I have one author of this piece of rhetoric right here, but when it comes to this piece of rhetoric, I have all of these people adding to what the message is. So the appeal to the audience's logic, or in this case, it's the appeal to the audience's sense of credibility, and in this case, it's the appeal to the audience's emotion, right? So another word for rhetorical invention, or ethos, pathos, logos, could be, yeah, the appeals, or if you like, the apples to apples. That's a good way to remember it. So, the rhetorical appeals. So we're looking for how all of these different people, you can pick the director, you can pick the guy talking, you can pick the animator, the musician, I don't care. And you can pick the director for one appeal and the speaker for another one. What at this point we're just trying to recognize when an appeal is made. So you don't have to do anything with that yet. But given what we were doing at the very end, and Kay, you brought up what we did at the very end of class yesterday. You guys remember? Do you remember? You said it.
Author's purpose.
Yes, we came up with author's purposes because everybody, every inventor, speaker, creator, conveyor of meaning. Conveyor sounds like surveyor, that's going to get me confused. Yeah, that's what I mean. If I'm writing it, so they all have reasons to get or convey messages to your face, right? They all have reasons, and so we came up with lots of reasons, like to explain, to teach, to persuade, to argue, and we made a list. We're going to refine that list a little bit later, but here's where we're headed by the end of tomorrow. I know I'm going a little bit fast because we have a little bit shortened period today, but if I go too fast, be like, whoa, slow down, take a lap. Is this a good pace for right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So they all have a reason to convey messages to you, and what we need to figure out, once we can recognize how they're doing it, we need to be able to connect it to why they're doing it. So our ultimate goal we can do this, if I may, using all of these different ways, you will have an arsenal for not only the AP test, but your own ability as an orator or a writer or an inventor to effectively get your way, communicate your message. Does that make sense to everybody? So you feel a little bit frustrated? That's okay. A little bit frustrated. So how does somebody, like when somebody says, oh, you should totally believe that I can slam dunk a basketball. What's going to make me believe this? Okay, if I see it. So he's talking about a bunch of stuff I can't see. So if I didn't see it, how else can they get me to believe them? Okay, so they could be like, they could make me feel like, oh, you're the kid that helps me. Okay, so you might, you know, it may appeal to your emotion that you might start to So what else though? If I'm on the basketball team and I'm like, I just got this mad slam dunk in the last couple of minutes of the game, you know, I don't oh, is that us?
I think so.
Pick this up later. Wait, so where I was headed with that just missed the bell, right? There, if I ask the coach, then am I going to believe it? Yeah. Because the coach gave it credit, well, and he gave me credit. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Looking at your group of 3 that you have there, what overall are the kids and their groups discussions like, you know, with one of your goals being that it's more student-centered and, you know, you want them to be working together and focusing on questioning. So what's the expectation for them working in their groups? How were those discussions formed in terms of, you know, you came up and were leading a discussion. I didn't see anything from the other 2 kids. You and the middle girl were basically in discussion.
That, yeah, in that particular clip, they were a little struggling. The 2 other people, especially the boy sitting next to her, was struggling to try and explain the idea of an appeal because some of the kids have difficulty understanding that the author is appealing to the audience's sense of emotion or the audience's sense of reasoning, and they interpret the rhetorical invention as their use of, or the use of it internally and not externally as, and so he was struggling explaining that to her, and she was struggling understanding the difference between appeal to pathos and appeal to ethos. And so when I was wandering around the room, that's why I ended up stopping there and trying to support him.
That.
Yeah, so I was kind of going off of what he had been saying to her. And then the other girl, I think, was, I perceived her to also be having that same struggle, just not
verbalizing.
Yeah, not verbalizing it and being, you know, maybe a little shy. I mean, that's one thing too in an AP class. The students who feel like they don't get it or they're overwhelmed
don't want to appear less capable.
Not at
all.
So
one of the things that I think about with this in terms of doing group work is maybe looking at some protocols to see if there's ways to really provide roles or expectations in terms of, okay, you have 2 minutes to say, nobody else says anything, then you each have a minute to respond, or, you know, different things like that, where there are roles and protocols. And in an AP group, that would probably go either one of two ways. Either it would go really well because they're gonna kind of abide by the rules and be like, cool, you know, we're gonna make sure everybody gets their opportunity, or, you know, it's gonna be chucked out the window because they, you know, don't wanna abide by very strict guidelines because they want to be facilitated on their own.
I feel that this group would really be open to following that, especially in small group discussion where students like the girl who was silent would be more apt to contribute in a small group as opposed to the larger group. And I really like the idea of, okay, get into groups of 3, assign A, B, or C. Now, you know, because I'm never without my stopwatch. I mean, you probably saw it in my hand, the little white box. And so, you know, as this was going on, I was saying, okay, there's 3 minutes left, okay, there's 2 minutes left.
That'll just help to kind of secure equity of voice, because you're going to have the one that's always overpowering everybody and the one that sits quietly and just lets everybody else talk. And this way, that following a protocol of that type might allow them to have that equity of voice.
Well, and to continue from that, I kind of like the idea of having sometimes the expectation be, okay, student A has to explain what student B said, and student B has to explain what student C said. And not necessarily the whole class, but I'll pick at random. And then that way they really listen to each other because they know the expectation is they might be called on to explain their peer.
So what I would do for next steps from here with the, you know, facilitating a procedure like that is maybe identify 2 or 3 protocols that you really like, explicitly teach one at a time, and then rotate them through, and then get the kids used to that, and then you can branch out into, you know, different ideas of that.
No, it's a really great
and you can
idea.
reference back to say, okay, we're going to use this protocol today for this discussion, and if you can provide that credibility for that protocol about why it's going to support the discussion and your goal with that, then that lends to the lesson as well.
Sure. Yeah, I love that idea. Thank you.
I'm Katie Lynn Piles. I'm in 11th grade and I'm in AP Lang with Ms. Schongalla.
So, Bill, look that way. Tell me when to stop.
Now.
All right, Caitlin. Nice and loud so Logos can hear you.
Ethos is the act of a narrator or author using evidence to help prove their point of view. And an example from the film was when Aristotle used the quote, how can we be free if God decides everything we do?
So Aristotle used the quote? So it was Aristotle's quote.
It was Aristotle's quote, the guy of the film.
Yeah, there we go. I totally would have said it the same way this morning because I'm so tired and I drove here like, stay awake, stay awake. So, can you say the first part again, because some people were trying to write that down?
The quote?
No, the part about appeal to ethos is?
It's the act of a narrator or author using evidence to help prove their point of view.
Yeah, so using evidence. It could be a quotation from somebody like Aristotle. It could be, like Chris pointed out, you know, citing a body of work like quantum mechanics or biology, but using some kind of evidence to prove their point of view, to support their point of view.
This class challenges you definitely by making you think about things you've never thought about before. Like, for example, analyzing texts. You would have never thought about looking for ethos, pathos, logos, all of that stuff. It just takes you to a whole nother level of learning, basically.
So pathos is like the emotion retort, and for the example we used, the guy would rather be a gear than an unknown factor in the universe. It's pretty much saying that he'd rather be, or it's pretty much like being a nobody or a somebody.
And I would have never seen it that way before. I've seen this film clip probably a million times, and I think that is a really, I don't know, did you guys pick up on that when he made that transition? Go ahead and write that down in your notebook, because when we see the film or the film clip next, see if that part of the film where he's like, wait a second, I'd rather be, you know, a gear in some great big machine than just something random. And what did you equate that to? He'd rather
It's
be...
like being a somebody rather than being a nobody.
Yeah, he'd rather be somebody, part of a group, rather than a nobody and random. I never thought of that as an appeal to emotion before, but is the speaker trying to get you to feel something there? Yeah.
My name is Alyssa Chambers. I'm a junior at Bethel High School, and the class I'm taking with Ms. Schongalla is AP Language and Composition.
Can we name the emotion he's trying to get us to feel? It's okay if we can't, but do you have a guess? Go for it, Alyssa.
Important.
Okay, so...
He's trying to make us realize that, like, what he's saying is kind of like, we've kind of lost touch with our own free will. And to say, I'd rather be a gear than an unknown factor in the universe is like, I'd rather be involved and important in something than to be just unknown and not important and not helping. I think he's trying to make us feel like we have to have a sense of importance or confidence or comfort within ourselves to be able to speak up and say something like that.
So in a way, by making that argument, he's trying to make you feel uncomfortable if you don't care.
Yeah.
She doesn't get so caught up in the politics of it. She doesn't feel like she needs to use all these big words and all these big terms in order for us to understand it. She likes to, take it down. She likes to take a complicated piece of rhetoric, and she can completely change up the wording of it to where we can understand it, and to where we can take the dictionary meaning of something, understand her meaning, and come up with our own. So it's like we have three different levels of understandings of something. So that's kind of special to me because I've always had a tough time comprehending something just at face value.
It seems like a lot of people haven't gotten the fact that there can be multiple audiences.
My name is Eric Mock. I am a junior and I have AP Lang and Comp with Ms. Schongalla.
So if he's conveying a message and conveying that message for a purpose, then implied there's audience.
Like yesterday I was really
And
confused.
there's definitely audiences, plural, in most cases.
Yeah, I know yesterday I was really confused and said I just had like a breakthrough. Yeah, I just thought, wait a minute.
So just out of curiosity, are you on the side of solving this problem is important or solving it's not that important?
I believe that even if we have free will or no free will at all, that shouldn't matter. This is life and this is what we have. It doesn't matter how we live it. That's my view.
It doesn't matter how?
Well, I meant it doesn't matter if we have free will or not.
Oh, I see.
That shouldn't change your view on
Malcolm Ellis to the main office, please. Christopher Lee to the main office, please.
Predetermined to have a good or bad life.
So just keep trying.
Yeah, that's how I think of it. I took AP Lang because I decided to try to challenge myself. I'm trying to get my name out to colleges and try to get a head start among my peers and stuff. So I have a better chance of attaining scholarships and just obtaining my goals.
What are your goals?
Well, right now I'm inspiring to become a doctor, actually a surgeon in fact. I don't know what specialization, but right now I don't really have too much financial help right now, so I'm trying to do all I can to actually earn scholarships and earn my way through college.
The self is like this car, and there are all these different things that go into how the car works, and the self is maybe an important part of the car, and then maybe the whole aging thing is another part, and how other people see you comes into play, and it all just kind of works together to make the one big thing.
That's what like how he said, like, do we have free will? Yes, but then maybe no. That's kind of along what I said. Like how in the first video he talked about how you can't have individuality without the free will. But then like in the second video, it talked about like a person. Like even though growing up you're always changing, like everything that you've done in your life is you. Like it makes you. So it kind of, like how you said, it contradicts the first video. That it's definitely something I agree with.
So you said that you can't have individuality without free will. I'm gonna have to disagree with you.
Well, I was just quoting the video.
Okay. Well, I disagree with that comment, regardless. But I think that just because you don't have free will, you can't make your own choices, you still have individuality. Everyone will have a different destiny. Not a single person would have the same one, and that's what would make your individuality from everyone else. But going back to whether or not this is something important to talk about, I don't believe trying to figure out if we have free will is important or not. I think trying to figure out whether or not it makes a difference, we should be talking about that. It doesn't really matter if we have free will or not. Like, if you think you have free will and someone came up to you and said there's no such thing as free will and somehow proved it, why should that change your life? Do you feel like you have free will right now? I do. So if someone proved it to me, that shouldn't really matter. I'm happy with my life. I think I make choices for myself. I believe that's all that matters, is what you think and what you feel.
I'm just going to pause this for just a second and pause time. We've got 2 people absent, so we have 27 people in here, and 9 people have gotten to speak, so 10 if you count me.
I kind of wanted to.
So, if you've already spoken quite a bit, let some other people get on the scoreboard, okay? Is that cool? Yeah. All right, scoreboard. So can you write that out? Because I had never thought about it that way.
Can you say it one more?
Yeah. So in the aging paradox video, got you guys. During he was talking about, well, she was talking about Benedict Anderson's theory of that baby in that picture. We gotta connect ourselves to that picture to tell people a story about it. And it almost kind of makes it a little bit fiction, because if we just show that picture to someone else, but they don't know who that is, and the baby does not look like us, they're not gonna know who it is. So the story and us would have to connect it for them to understand it.
I totally get that now.
I never really understood the whole baby picture thing. Like that part, I always was just like.
Like I understood it, I just never understood why it was fiction. But that explanation made it so clear. Okay, AJ, jump in. I know you've been trying.
I was just going to say, like, the baby picture, that just proves that we have free will and creativity. Because if we all brought in a picture, we'd either A, bring in a different picture, or B, if, say, one of us had similar pictures, we'd still have different stories to tell about the picture. So we all live differently.
I think he is big. Just saying.
Okay.
So is that how they contrast, like, how the paradox contrasts, like, the free will video? Because you're saying they contrasted.
I mean, I think that there's multiple contradictions, but that could be one of them. I kind of felt it was a contradiction to say that we're the same and different at the same time, but we have control over that. Like, if I had control over that, I'm not so sure I'd choose to be that paradox, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because to me, free will equals choice. Maybe I have a different understanding of that than, I don't know. I'm gonna let Bill take it home.
Okay, I was also thinking that it doesn't really matter if we have free will, because we could be governed by some person who decides their actions, but as long as we feel that we have free will, it doesn't matter.
I also think it's kind of interesting how in the free will video he talked about how he wanted to be a gear and a big machine versus just being a subatomical particle thingy in the system, because humans are really social creatures. We have been since the beginning of time. You don't ever see just one human by themselves. You see multiple. We have families. We multiply, just like you see packs of animals or anything like that. We want to be part of something bigger than ourselves.
So my name is Martina Reed, and my son Brandon Reed was a student from Ms. Schongalla from 2012 to 2014. So he's had her for 2 years. That's how I met Sabrina Schongalla. So my son Brandon is a senior class president, so he's on the senior executive board as well as leadership for the high school. And Sabrina is the advisor to the senior class this year. Myself, I am the parent advocate for the Senior Booster Club, so the two of us have been working hand in hand and side by side to help strengthen the senior class and help them fundraise. A big one that's coming up right now is a fundraiser for the senior class. It's It's a jewelry sale, but it's working with the community as well. We have a community store owner that owns a jewelry shop, and what our goal is in working together is we sell tickets for this fundraiser to individuals who want to partake in the evening event, and then we collaborate along with other parent volunteers and student volunteers. We set up that organization, and she sets up texts and emails and stuff as well. And we collaborate to make that evening happen. So we'll have, you know, hors d'oeuvres for the evening, cocktails, opening the evening, making sure we're checking people in, working the sales for the evening, and closing out the event as well for, you know, the money situation, and then also following up with thank yous as well for the store owner, but as well as the students and the parent volunteers that were there. And she's just been wonderful. She's like, what do you guys need? What do we need to do? Let's make this happen. And she's just really just moving forward every direction with it, and it's been great. So, and she's doing that with the rest of the fundraisers we have, but this is our biggest one coming up right now.
I'm Suzanne Doyle, and I've been a colleague of Sabrina Schongalla for about 14 years. I teach AP Psychology, Psychology, and Economics at Bethel High School. 2 of my sons have been in Sabrina's classes. One was ComArts 10, and the other one, oh, they were both in ComArts 10 with Sabrina. And I can speak more to the second son than the first son, just because I was so aware of the skills that he needed to bring up. My son had not passed the HISP ever, and had even been pulled out and said, we want you in a reading lab class, and I did not want that for him. So I was really concerned that he was never going to graduate from high school. Sabrina took him, and she engaged him, she made him understand, he was able to put all the pieces together. I don't think it was just a developmental thing on his part. That was probably part of it, but really the way she explained it to him allowed him to get a perfect score on part of the HISP and 4s on the rest of the HISP. So he would come home from school and he would be, we talked about this today, everybody's against me on this, but I'm going to get all the information that I can find, and I'm going to go back in there tomorrow and I'm going to tell him why I'm right about this topic. And so even though he's not a reader, he's not a writer, school's not his #1 concern, Sabrina made him care about what they were doing in class.
Hello, I am Peggy Field. I'm a math teacher at Bethel High School. I teach pre-calculus, AP Stats, and Advanced Algebra. I work with Sabrina Schongalla on numerous occasions. Right now we are working on pre-calculus and guiding students to learn how to read the book, and she's incorporating some language arts techniques into my classroom, which is very helpful, so the students can realize that they use some of the techniques in one class into another class. And this whole concept started probably about 4 years ago when Sabrina and I got together and we're trying to have my students write a persuasive essay using math techniques in the classroom, which was very difficult for us to work out, just so you know. But it was important to both of us to bring those 2 disciplines together as much as possible. Sabrina had first started going back and taking math classes with the hope that she would be actually teaching a math class, and right now, still a hope of hers, but right now that's not the way our school is working. So I went to Sabrina myself because of her interaction with her students. They respect her very much, and she teaches them how to run their own classroom and learn the material or whatever content they need to with that process, just guiding them along. And that's important to get to that point for me also, so I look at her for guidance on that.
My name is Deidre McKnight. I am a senior at Bethel High School, and I am in yearbook technology, and I was in AP Lit and composition with Ms. Schongalla. I knew that I wanted to graduate college, or graduate high school and go to college and do something related to art, whether it was physically, like painting or drawing, or on the computer. I knew I wanted it to be art, but I didn't know what to be. I heard artists have a hard time making it big because there's so many aspects to it. Like some artists don't even get to make money, they're just painting. But I knew I wanted a job, I wanted to be able to buy my parents a house, and I knew I wanted something that would help me change the world, potentially. And so when I joined Yearbook with Schongalla, or Miss Schongalla, I found out that you could make posters and things on the computer. You can make layouts, you can make magazines on the computer, which I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't understand how it worked, and she taught me. And then she said one day to me, why don't you try looking up graphic design? And I did, and it was like a whole new world. I was like, oh my goodness, this is a real thing. People get paid to do this. And I was like, that's it. That's what I want to be. That's what I want to do. There's so many opportunities for me in it, and I'm so happy that she was able to pick that out, see that I wanted to do it, and then tell me about it. And I'm so blessed to have been able to meet her, and for her to know so much, to be able to then share with me, so then I can know. I'm very thankful to her. I'm thankful for her a lot. A lot has changed since I met her. Personally, like me as a person, I have a bigger worldview.
My name is Kayla Riopel, and I was a student of Sabrina Schongalla's. Sabrina was my debate coach and my journalism teacher. She mentored me throughout high school and challenged me to think critically, creatively, and ethically. I had always planned to attend college after high school, but was entirely uncertain about what I wanted to study. After observing my strengths and passions over 3 years, she graciously compiled a list of 10 schools with 10 potential majors that would be a great fit for me. I had not considered a career in documentary filmmaking, but I would not have been able to create this film had she not recognized the intersections of argumentation, aesthetics, and storytelling inherent in the documentary process. I just graduated from Ithaca College as a documentary studies and production major, and am eternally grateful to Sabrina for pointing me in the right direction. Sabrina would be an asset to any school, and I hope this film has shown you what a powerful force of inspiration and education she can be for her students. Thank you.